Gridiron Grinder! Hut hut hike!
All right, we're rolling. It's Wednesday night, Gridiron Grinder time. I'm Ryan. With me, as always, is my buddy James. Just a couple dudes talking about what's going on in the NFL each week. This is episode 94. And so for tonight, we're going to start things off with Name That Stadium like we always do. Then we're going to hit the news from this past week. After that, we're going to continue where we left off last week. We're going to do a mock draft. Tonight, we're doing round two. And then last but not least, we'll close things off with question of the week. So, James, with all that being said, how's it going tonight, man?
It's going good. How's it going with you?
It's going good, man. I'm well prepared for the mock. I'm a little light on the news of the week. I had basically back-to-back weekends or weeks with some sunshine, so I've been missing some of the news, but that's okay, because I know the tag team between the two of us will cover it just fine.
Yeah, this week was kind of a light week on the news, anyways.
You usually get the smoke screen and misinformation in that week leading up to the draft. I'm sure there was some of that stuff, and we don't need to cover a ton of that. We're looking for the more tangible stuff typically.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool. Well, let's kick it over to Name That Stadium. And so this is a part of the show for anybody who's watching. You can see James is out there traveling the country. Every week he's got a different stadium in his background. And if you think you know what it is, hit us up in the comments section. The first person to get the answer right, they get a special shout out next week's show. And so, James, why don't you tell us where you were at last week, man?
Last week I was at MetLife. It was mainly for the Giants and not the Jets because I think honestly the Giants could pull one of those moves that you're gonna be like, what the fuck, really? Like drafting a quarterback at number 5 or some shit like that, or having like some
Okay.
huge massive trade on draft day and get and then drafting another quarterback.
Um, I could see it. I was listening to a guy out here on the radio. He's a big Giants fan, and he was talking just about how they're different than the Lions, but you expect them to do the wrong things, and that it's just like frustrating that you know they're dysfunctional. I mean, they've got a Super Bowl win, so good for them, but dysfunctional for sure. They've got a couple Super Bowl wins, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, but in a decade they haven't won a Super Bowl game. They're
No, but that's more than we got as Lions fans. That's all I'm saying.
true, true.
But yeah, no, I mean, geez, they've done some really foolish things. I mean, we criticized them a lot about, the Saquon Barkley thing and just how sort of like their strategy was backwards for a long time. We always talk about building from the trenches and working your way out, and a position like tight end or running back, those are luxury positions. You kind of wait until everything else is kind of solidified, and it seemed like they went after those first, and then basically just never gave anybody a chance to succeed. And so that's why they're still hanging on to Daniel Jones and hoping that maybe he'll come around finally this year. We'll see what happens with that, but I don't know. So, okay. So, yeah, that was your inspiration for last week. That's cool. Let's keep it moving here and let's hit the recap of the past week. And so for James, there were like a zillion mock drafts. And so, like, when I skim NFL.com, ESPN.com, all these other sites, it is like constantly just littered with analysts and different mock drafts and things like that. And why not? I mean, that's what we're doing. It's fun to kind of dream and think about who would fit where and, how they could help a team or whatever the case may be. And so you kind of got to sift through a lot of that to get to the news. I saw there were a couple fifth-year options that got picked up. Kyler Murray was one of them. And, it kind of reminded me that over the weekend, I believe Kyler was like tweeting stuff or whatever, posting it on Instagram. I don't know any of this social media stuff, but, about how he wants to win in Arizona. And so it looks like they're kind of like making amends. Um, which I think is the right thing for them. I think it's the right thing both ways. It's weird that this new era of athletes, they just kind of, oh, I'm going to scrub my social media and pitch a fit until I get what I want or whatever. Um, but yeah, so that was one piece of news I saw.
Well, the
Um,
interesting thing about Kyler Murray's fifth-year option is for 2023 because he made two Pro Bowls, um, and he's made two Pro Bowls. His fifth-year option is $30 million for 2023.
oh my gosh, I didn't know that the Pro Bowls factored in on the pay.
Yeah, I didn't know that either until like I saw the tweet about, but I think it was like Schefter tweeted it or Ian Rappaport tweeted it. But yeah, it's from what I understand, it's $30 million for 2023,
Hey, good
which
for
is
him, man.
which is a hell of a lot of fucking money for a fifth-year quarterback that seems to break down in the second half of the season.
Yeah, and I mean, we were just talking about Baker's fifth year option, I think is 18. I mean, that's a big jump, man.
Mm-hmm.
Holy cow. And Baker, yeah, they were both number one overall, but yeah, I guess it's there must be some tiered kind of pay based on your performance and, Pro Bowls factoring in, or, I don't know how that all works, but that's interesting. I'm going to want to look into it now.
Yeah, it's $29 million.
Okay.
Sorry, I was off.
I'd say pretty close. We can just round that off, James. That's fair enough. Okay, so looking at some of the other news, there was a lot of talk about Debo Samuel, and I'm sure we're going to talk about that more tonight. But it sounds like the 49ers are kind of backtracking now, saying that they don't see a scenario where they would trade him. They don't want to trade him. That could all be a ploy to drive up the asking price. It could, who knows? I'm sure they would love to hang on to him, but they've got to decide, you know, are they going to be able to make amends with him and get him the deal that he wants and everybody be happy? Or is it going to be better to steal some picks and move on with life? And, you know, I'm not convinced that this is a done deal yet. And so, especially with the draft being tomorrow, it's like anything could happen and now's the time.
Yeah, so the whole thing is San Francisco posturing for to drive up the price a little bit on him. To be honest with you, I see no deal being made with Deebo Samuel. From everything I'm reading, San Francisco's offered him like top end wide receiver money and
Okay.
saying no, I'm not going to sign with San Francisco. So I mean, if you're making him say, not knowing the numbers, say the fourth highest paid wide receiver in the league, which is pretty high for Debo, who's still on his rookie deal. Um, that's and hasn't proven that he can be a number one. And you're willing to pay him that, and he's saying no. I don't think he's going to get that much from any other that much more from any other team. And so if he's saying he's not going to sign with San Francisco, there's something seriously wrong there that is not going to make him sign. If I'm San Francisco, fuck yeah, I call his bluff. You know what? You're playing this season for us, and you don't like it, well, you can sit out, and then you'll play next season for us.
Yeah, and I guess at least you're setting the tone for other players that you're not going to put up with their crap. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, you can be a man about it and live up to your contract, and then if you don't like it, you ride it out and you move on. And yeah, man, it's just crazy. I know it's a bigger deal in basketball. I've heard about players uh, just because they feel like it not playing and sitting on the bench, and it's like, whoa, like that just it blows my mind that we're going to that. And I don't know all the details on the basketball stuff because I never watch it. I just
So
heard some guy complaining about sort of like these millennial players and just a different breed, man.
so the thing with basketball that's different from football is every basketball contract is fully guaranteed.
Okay.
The player can say, "Oh, I'm injured." A couple years ago, like for 2018, Kawhi Leonard was saying he was injured and wouldn't play for the Spurs, and they had to pay him his full salary. He just wouldn't play. Forced his way out for a trade, won a championship in Toronto the next season, and then signed a huge deal with the Clippers. So it's basically what it is. It's fully guaranteed in basketball and football, it's not fully guaranteed. Some contracts in football are fully guaranteed, depending on who the player is and whatever. But every contract in basketball is 100% guaranteed.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, let's keep moving on here. I did see just a headline. I didn't read the details. I don't really care to, I'll be honest with you, about Sam Darnold and the Panthers owner basically backing Darnold, saying that people just need to have patience with him, that he thinks he's still a really good quarterback or something to that effect. And, to me, I believe it's smoke and mirrors going into the draft. They got the number 6 pick. They're probably looking at quarterback options. They may or may not do it, depending on what happens tomorrow night. But I mean, I don't think you can back Darnold at this point. I mean, he's not shown anything at all, man. He had a couple sweet games earlier on in the year, and then like completely fell apart. And I mean, it it should be the other way around. He should have gotten better as the year went on, not the other way. So
Yeah, so the thing with Darnold is the team has told Darnold that there's a likelihood that they're going to draft a quarterback in the draft. Um, the other thing that was interesting was I don't know his name. It's like Friedman or Feldman or something like that. The GM for Carolina was being interviewed, and he said something along the lines with that there's a couple quarterbacks he would feel comfortable with
okay,
taking at number 6. So I don't know if that's him posturing, trying to get somebody to trade up, somebody like Atlanta to trade up, or and give him a haul, or Pittsburgh to trade up. But yeah, he said that he was comfortable with a couple um, quarterbacks at number 6. So
gotcha.
that's a clear sign that they're going quarterback. I think they are seriously considering drafting quarterback in the first round. But the other thing I'm hearing a lot of rumors about them trading for Jimmy Garoppolo.
I mean, it's been quiet on the trade front for him, and I think a lot of it's because of that shoulder surgery,
Yeah.
and a lot of people were
It's
expecting that would slow things down. You know, I don't know. If a deal doesn't get done this week, it's probably not the end of the world. It just means the 49ers got to be patient with the picks that they get in return are going to be for next year's draft, not this year's, and
yeah.
that's probably fine if the price is right.
I don't know. I think it was earlier this week. It might have been late last week after we recorded, but Garoppolo was being interviewed by somebody, and there was a couple things that he said that shed. It was last week, but it was after the show with the Debo thing, like what Garoppolo was saying, like he was hedging it and trying to say this and that, but it was clear that Debo is not going to be on the 49ers next year,
Oh,
based on
gotcha.
what Garoppolo was saying, and also Garoppolo made comments like, um, you know, the situation he was in last year, he wouldn't wish that upon anybody,
Okay.
and stuff like that. But the key takeaway from it was Garoppolo is not going to be able to throw till the middle of the summer.
Yep.
So that's going to probably delay any trades unless there's some sort of guarantees written to the trades based on the injury. Because when you
Yeah.
trade the player has to pass a physical, and so you have to kind of buy the team out of the physical.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it seems like there's enough tape on Garoppolo that unless you think this is one of these weird injuries that has some kind of chance of not healing right, it just seems like you know enough that you either like him or you don't, and you're just going to take whatever the risk is. And if you've got to like delay the physical or whatever, you'd have it all like lock, stocked, and two smoking barrels all done at this point, just because you would already know. But I guess some of it's these GMs playing chicken with each other, and Lynch is being cool, taking his time, and I think that's the right approach. And everybody else is trying to use that leverage against him. Of, well, yeah, the guy can't even throw right now. We don't even know if he's capable of what we want or being what he was, and this and that, and yada yada yada. So, hey, they sweat it out, and eventually a deal gets done, likely. So,
Yeah.
But that would change things for Carolina for sure, and I think that that would be good for Carolina because they're in win now mode. It just depends what do you got to give up to give him, you know?
So the thing with Carolina is I don't think trading for Garoppolo or something like that benefits Rule and benefits the GM because I think say just hypothetically they go 8-9 this year. Rule's going to be fired if it's Jimmy G because next year they're going to have to start over with a new quarterback or Garoppolo's not that top tier quarterback where he's going to be able to be your franchise quarterback where so they're going to have to start over next year with the quarterback. The only way Rule saves his job is if the team is looking like it's on the up and or coming up and they have a rookie quarterback in there.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess to me that's the tricky part is do you give them the time now to start over with a rookie quarterback when they've had a couple of years with a hodgepodge of other quarterbacks? It seems like they should have drafted the guy this past year. Like it seems like year three is late in a regime to kind of give them a free pass because that's what it is if they get a rookie. So to me, it's like, okay, it's Garoppolo, and they're hoping he's good enough to get him to the playoffs, or they're all gone. And, Garoppolo, when he's healthy, he's been a very good regular season quarterback. So he would give them that chance, and I got to believe they'd be looking at that. But I see what you're saying. There's other angles to look at, and it just depends on. I guess it's really David Tepper's call. Is he going to be patient with this regime, or is he going to say, "Holy shit, it's year three and we're like starting over"? Come on, like I don't know. Like to me, I would not be all right with that because then you're saying, okay, basically you gave these guys 4 years to do something when they should have made some hard decisions in year one or two. It's like I don't know. It just feels like wasted time.
Yeah, it does.
Okay, the last piece I had, James, was I saw the Jags extended offensive tackle Cam Robinson, a 3-year, $54 million extension. Good for him. I don't think that takes them out of the running to draft a tackle potentially. They're saying they've got their eye on 4 different people for the number 1 overall pick. We talked about it before. Doug Peterson, he likes having just a stacked offensive line. And so, I could see them doing something there, but it's definitely not their biggest need. So, maybe they go elsewhere, whatever it may be. Cam Robinson, I think, is a solid tackle. And so, just pointing out the news.
Yeah, and the thing with Jacksonville is this week there was a huge shift in the Vegas odds on in Vegas on who was projected to go number 1 overall, and it went from Hutchinson, it was at like minus 150, and Trayvon Walker, who I think would be a bad pick at number 1, was at like plus like 500, and Trayvon Walker went to like minus 350.
Yeah, man, I heard about that, and I heard some comments. I forget who they were by, but about Trayvon Walker, and basically saying that their assessment of him is that he is the best player in the draft now and has the highest ceiling later, and that the stats didn't necessarily reflect that because how stacked the Georgia defense was, number 1. And number 2, I guess they moved him around so much on that line that it was kind of like they were like, "Hey, you're our best player. We just need to put you wherever we can." And so that kind of like hid him a little bit from getting the stats as well. And so I don't totally know if I buy it. It's like I said, it's smoke and mirrors week, and so you hear stuff like this come out every year. It's intriguing to say the least because this is a guy that was like mid first round, late first round. All of a sudden, people are saying possibly number 1. It's like, holy cow, man! There's a lot of movement and a lot of varying opinions on him.
Yeah, and the thing with with him is I don't think he's like even where we mocked him last week. I think that's a high pick for him. really. Like I think he's still middle of the round. I think there's other defensive players that are better than him. Like especially like Jermaine Johnson, and Hutchinson. Those two are the best. And like I heard the description I heard this week. I forget who said it, who said it, but it was the way they described Hutchinson was Hutchinson's a double off the wall every time.
Is a what?
Where is a double off the wall every time.
Oh, gotcha.
Where like Trayvon Walker is a home run once in a while or a strikeout.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's all or nothing basically.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, and I mean, just look at the, you know, I look at the other side of the argument with the Georgia defense too, and I say, well, yeah, I mean, when he had Jordan Davis and that other defensive lineman there, it's like, well, how often was he double teamed? Because Davis was double teamed every single play, and so
Hmm.
it's like, okay, so should that have meant he would have had more opportunity to get to the quarterback and get those stats? But I don't know. I tell you what, I really liked your pick last week of Jermaine Johnson going number one. I don't know if he will in reality. We'll find out tomorrow. But he's been flying up draft boards lately too, but kind of like under the radar, man. And it's
Hmm.
like that's one of the ones where it's like you just see people moving him up on their mock drafts, but you don't really hear a lot of commentary behind it. And you got to like go and do your own digging and find out what's going on. It's like, ooh, those are the guys that they're like sneaky good, better than people thought now that they've seen all the tape and everything. And it's like, okay, that's an interesting one to watch.
Yeah, and that's the thing with Jermaine Johnson. Like, I watch a decent amount of college football, and then I've seen highlight films, and when I was diving into these players, everything I kept reading was like Jermaine Johnson could possibly be the best defensive player in this entire draft,
Yeah.
better than Hutchinson, better than Thibodeau, better than Trayvon Walker, better than anybody.
Well, and that honestly, that I'd say that scares me a little bit as a Lions fan, being it too. But it's more about the uncertainty in this draft is that you don't have a lot of consensus on guys. Even at cornerback between Stingley and Gardner, it's like, man, it just so many people are moving around a lot, especially in the first round. You normally see that as you get into the second round, a lot of disparity between opinions, and that's fine because you're going down further, you're looking at a different group of guys. But even at the top, it's like, wow, man, there's like no consensus on any of these guys, and I keep hearing people say, "Oh, there's 40 good players in this draft, and quite possibly no elite players, or at least none that look elite right off the bat. They look like they're going to have to develop into that." And so it's like it just when you hear these things, it makes you think so many different things. It's like, okay, how does that affect trades now going into this draft? And is that why so many teams gave up their first round pick because they knew going in that this was going to be maybe a weaker draft class, or I don't know. And then you look at I like the ESPN.com ratings, and it's like, man, there's a lot of 90 plus ratings, and so it's like, is that just because they put the top guys that high, or is it, I don't know. It's weird, man. It's weird thinking about it.
Yeah, it is weird thing about it. But the thing I keep coming back to is I think what it has to do with is like a lot of these guys, yeah, they could be, you know, a first round pick or they could be a second round pick. They're so even and they're so similar. It's like you pick this guy or you pick that guy, you're getting basically the same thing. And that's what I've seen a lot in this draft. So you're really splitting hairs to pick a guy high that's like, okay, I'm picking him because of X, but it's just like some possibly some BS reason.
Which may lead you to think then, at least in my mind, it logically means that we shouldn't expect much trades in the draft.
Hmm.
If the guys are that evenly graded out and they're kind of interchangeable at different parts of the board, it's like there's really not a lot of reason to trade up. You just wait and see who's there and you take them. It's like, I don't know. I don't know, and that's strange too because you think with so many teams having two picks, this would be a draft where you'd see a lot of moves, but maybe not.
Yeah,
We'll find out this week, man. It's right around the corner.
yeah, it's tomorrow.
All right. So, any other news that you want to hit on, man?
Just a couple little things. Apparently, the Broncos re-signed Melvin Gordon today. So, I mean, well, the only thing that is that kind of possibly tanks Javante Williams' fantasy value this year.
Yeah.
Um, and Bilal Powell signed with the Jets to retire.
Okay. Yeah. Minor in the grand scheme of things, but hey, that's cool that he's going out the way he wants to go out. And do you know what the deal was on Melvin Gordon? I want to say it was like 1 year, 5 million.
I I don't know what the deal was. I kind of tried to look it up and I just couldn't find specifics. I heard it was a 1 year deal and it was very incentive laden
Okay.
or performance incentive, very heavy on performance incentives versus um, base value.
Yeah, and I was already starting to, I guess, get less excited about Javante Williams the more I thought about Russell Wilson being there. I kind of just thought, man, those last few years in Seattle, there was a lot of talk about them really just going all pass because,
Hmm.
that just kind of he wanted it. They had the receivers, and it's like I could just see that being what they're doing in Denver. It's like, okay, we're going to go with this, lights out passing offense, and it would, it's almost like, well, why do you need both those guys then? But you know, they want to be stacked, so cool.
Yeah, but I don't know how much they're paying them. Maybe they got a sweetheart deal on it, and
Yeah. Okay. Is that it then?
yeah, that was it.
All right. Well, let's shift it over. Let's do our second round mock draft. And so, James, what do you want to do? You want to flip the coin again, or do you want to, you
Well, since
know?
I started with odds last week, why don't you start with odds and then I'll go with the evens.
Okay, you son of a bitch. That's, Lions at 34. I see what's going on here. No, that's fine. I'm good. I'm good with doing it that way. And yeah, let's get it going. So, boop, I am on the clock for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And so, James, last week when we did round one, we had them taking a defensive end. You selected Jermaine Johnson for them, which was one of their top needs. With that one crossed off, I'm looking at center, wide receiver, outside linebacker, and safety as their top needs. And so when I'm looking at the best available, and this is actually pretty wild. I'll tell you this: the ESPN.com best available list, with I would say the second round and third round picks and on, had huge movement from last week to this week. Like a ton of guys got re-rated, and so that makes it interesting. And I think it means some of my picks tonight, I'm not going to have nearly the kind of conviction that I had in some of my picks last week, but that's okay. And so okay, so looking at this, if I'm looking at a center, a wide receiver, outside linebacker, or safety, knowing that they went defensive end to start, you've got Tyler Linderbaum. He's one of the top available players. He kind of slid down. A lot of people were expecting him to go in round one. He didn't do it in our mock. You got safety Daxton Hill out of Michigan. You've got offensive guard Kenyon Green there. He's a guard. I feel comfortable he could play center. I don't know if that's something he's done in the past. You got David Ojabo for Michigan, outside linebacker. I don't know. I hear a lot of people saying he's going to be a defensive end, but maybe it's one of those edge kind of positions. Um, and you could keep going down. I think Linderbaum is the pick here. And I say that because they went defense in round one. They want to have that strong offensive line for Trevor Lawrence. If you don't feel like you're getting the wide receiver value here, which I don't think they are, because my next guy on the board at wide receiver is Sky Moore from Western. I think Linderbaum is the better. It's like a safe pick, but it's also hey, keep your quarterback upright pick, and hopefully he develops and can make it work because you're giving him more time.
That's an okay pick. I have Linderbaum rated in the late late second round.
Okay.
The issue I have with Linderbaum is he's kind of small, and his height and weight height, weight, and arm length makes him a difficult proposition to play center, and that's where my concern with him was. So I dropped him way down.
No, and that could be part of some of the re-ratings. And so, yeah, the note I had is he's a highly effective zone blocker, but he's undersized with shorter arms. He was 18th on the best available last week, and I know he slid down. But looking at 33, I thought, okay, for a guy that had that high of potential, even if he fell a little bit, they're still probably hitting a pretty big need right there. And so, yeah, I mean, I could see them going after the safety out of Michigan, or even Ojabo, the linebacker out of Michigan. I'm just not sure they're going to get the value at wide receiver. And it's like I'm rotating. You went defense in the first, you're coming back, you're doing offense this way. But who knows? So, but either way, I turned in my card. You were on the clock, my friend, with the Lions at 34.
So at 34, I absolutely love this pick for the Lions. I actually have this guy rated in my top 15, and to get him at 34 is a huge steal. It's safety Daxton Hill from Michigan. He's good at reading receivers' routes. He reads the quarterback well. His knock is he doesn't separate the ball from receivers on contested passes, but I mean he's a good height, long arms, he's agile, and that can be taught. That teaching him how to separate the ball will will come. But I have him probably. Let me see, where did I have him? I had him at number 14 on my list
Yeah, that's solid. That's high for
overall.
a safety. And that means you like him. That's good. And the Lions, they definitely need help in the secondary. Um, the note I had on Daxton Hill was that quick to the ball with long arms, but he's a sloppy tackler, willing but sloppy tackler, and so that's okay. Michigan's defense was solid, and I'm sure he would do them some good. It seems like it's a lot of value, like you said, at this point in the draft, and it fills a need. So that's cool. And I I still want the Lions to get a wide receiver one. I don't think that there's one here. So you're looking at either cornerback, inside linebacker, or safety as their top needs. Um, yeah, I mean it's good. I guess I'm looking at Quay Walker, the inside linebacker from Georgia, but I don't know. I think he did good there, man. I like the pick.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, Quay Walker would be an outstanding pick too. Um, I have him in my top 30, but I just had like the safety it fits the need, and I have him so much higher that it's no 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 other choice could be made there.
Yeah, yeah. No, and it's could you go cornerback? I don't know. It seems like yeah. I think the cornerbacks available, and you compare them to Daxton Hill, and yeah, I'm good with that. Okay, so at 35, we got the Jets. And the Jets in the first round, we mocked them a defensive end, Trayvon Walker, and we also mocked them wide receiver Jameson Williams. And so that knocked off their top two needs. That leaves them with needs at inside linebacker, cornerback, and outside linebacker. And so we're just kind of going back here. there's Ojabo at outside linebacker. If he's more of an edge guy, maybe that's not as huge of a need since they picked Trayvon Walker in the first round. You got Kyler Gordon at cornerback. We talked a little bit about him last week. He's got some of those elite traits, but there's a lot of notes about him being a bit of a gambler. And so, if you're the Jets, okay, I'm not sure. I really like the idea of them going with Quay Walker here as an inside linebacker pick because now you got Robert Saleh basically getting the captain of his defense, the guy that's going to call the plays. You're locking him in now in year two of his run with this team, and you got to have your quarterback of the defense, man. So I'm going to lock in inside linebacker Quay Walker.
I like that pick. The only knock I've run on him is at times he can be what was referred to as a quarter count late finding the ball.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, and it's risky, like when you talk about how many guys were so good on that Georgia defense, it's like, oh man, like could it like totally skew your opinion on one of them? You know, time will tell. Time will tell. All right, so James, that puts you on the clock with the Giants at 36, my friend.
yeah, I know. I'm trying to read through the list and see. So in the first round, we mocked them Drake London, wide receiver, and didn't they have a second one?
Yeah, they
And
took
offensive tackle.
Aquanu, the offensive tackle.
Yeah, the one that I tried to leave to you, and you son of a bitch wouldn't take him.
No,
Um, so so they got the wide receiver and they got the offensive tackle. They still need a defensive end, a defensive tackle, and a tight end based on our needs we see. Um, I'm gonna go a little bit outside the box on defensive end and say that includes outside linebacker and it's more of an edge than a defensive end.
sure.
Um, I think I, I think that the Ojabo from Michigan, the outside linebacker, will fit that bill for the Giants. Um, I I have him from what I found on him. I have him in the top top 30. So at 36, it's decent, decent steal. Not as good as the other steal. I mean,
I think it's good value there. I think it's a matter of being patient with him coming back from that, what was it, an Achilles tear.
yeah,
But yeah, no, I mean, he's the note I have on him is fast and efficient, occasionally loses ground to tackles, and he's just coming back from that Achilles. But he was one of the better players on that Michigan defense, which was one of the best defenses in college football. So I think there's a
yeah.
lot of potential there, and I agree with you. I think he's more of an edge guy, so he'd fit the bill for the Giants.
Thank you for stepping in. I was looking at my notes I had on him, and I had none. I didn't have a single note saved. I was like,
I got your back, Jack.
he's, gets off the. There it is. Sorry, had a different page.
Hey, that's cool.
Little motion, turning the corner, excellent closing speed. His hand to hand combat skills are improvement, and he can get by offensive tackles.
All right, cards turned in. So next up, we got the Houston Texans at 37. And Houston is another one of these teams with two picks in the first round. We had them taking offensive tackle Evan Neal, and we also had them taking defensive end Kayvon Thibodeau, who slid to 13. We were both kind of surprised looking back at that, but he's one of these polarizing prospects, and I think that's if that played out in real life, that's a steal for them. That leaves them with needs at defensive tackle, wide receiver, and inside linebacker. And man, I'm going to be honest with you here, James. I'm really not a huge fan of their needs with what is best available on the board for them. Um, I'm just going to say that I think as I'm looking at these and talking it out, I think maybe their best bet is defensive tackle Travis Jones out of UConn. He's a massive nose tackle with pass rushing potential. The tape doesn't always match the measurables. My concern is that if you go defensive end round one and you've got an offensive tackle, you've got a young quarterback, are they going to go back to defense, especially on the line, or are they going to go and look at a different level? Man, at this point, you got Kenyon Green is slipping down the board. You got Kyler Gordon slipping down the board, Zion Johnson, but they don't really have those needs. There's Christian Harris, the inside linebacker out of Alabama. I don't see them going after Sky Moore yet. I still don't see that happening. You know, they still have what's his face? Drawing a blank on his name. Um, yeah, I'm just looking a little further down, and I don't like going too far down on the board because that's not good value. I got to go defensive tackle Travis Jones here. I think that gives them the most bang for the buck, man, and it builds the trenches, and so now they're doing a good rebuild. Um, you know, getting two guys on the defensive line, one guy on the offensive line. You know, I can't knock them for that. The Lions did something similar last year.
Yeah, I like that pick.
This is a this is a perplexing pick, isn't it, man? It's
Yeah,
this one's not a very obvious. Hey, that's their guy. It's like, oh man, it's almost like they landed in a bad spot, which tells me that if it really plays out this way, maybe it's a pick they trade out of because they're not really feeling the right bang for the buck at this spot.
yeah, that's a rough pick.
Yeah, and I like Travis Jones. I just know a lot of teams they won't put that much investment in the trenches using their first three picks, one on a tackle, two on defensive end, defensive tackle. But, there's nothing wrong with it. It hits the needs, and they've got a lot of holes to fill. If you can control the trenches, you can get ahead of schedule in a rebuild. So I think fundamentally it makes sense. And you're not, you're not seeing any glaring alternatives. So let's kick it
No,
on to you at 38 with the Jets.
all right. This is another player that I think they're getting good value on here. Not extremely good value at 38. I have him around 30, 32 to 35. I have him as the next best player at his position, which is a need for the Jets, at corner back, and that would be Kaiir Elam from
Okay.
Florida. So he has good straight line speed, excels in press zone coverage, where he can use his physicality and his instincts. Quick feet, closes well. Maybe a knock. He has a little bit of shorter arms, smaller hands, but he in over the past 3 seasons he had 6 interceptions and 26 passes defended. So I think he could be a good pick here, and I have him just rated above the other cornerback that's still available. So,
Kyler Gordon.
yeah, I will go with Kaiir Elam.
Yeah, I like the pick. I think it's their top need left on the board. I mean, left on their list. Um, I would have been between him and Gordon, and I think both of them they've got like the height, weight, speed type measurables. They just have different flaws, and so Gordon is the gambler. Elam, the note I have on him is he gets a little tight and a little handsy. And, so it just depends on which one you want to work with. And, I think at this point, this is their fourth pick. That's pretty solid for them. And honestly, the only alternative I would look at is there another linebacker on the board? There's Nick Bonito out of Oklahoma, but I don't think they're getting the right value there. So um, the other guys are inside linebackers, and they already solved that. So yeah, I think that's a good pick. Okay, so at 39, we got the Chicago Bears, and if I'm not mistaken, this is their first pick in the draft here, James.
Yeah.
And they have needs at wide receiver, guard, tackle, defensive end, and cornerback. Um, so Darnell Mooney right now is their top wide receiver, and he's developing nicely, but I don't know that he's a true number one. I don't know that at this spot you get a true number one. But with Justin Fields at cornerback, they would be tempted maybe to take the flyer on a guy like Sky Moore out of Western Michigan because they do need weapons for Justin Fields. Another option is Christian Watson at wide receiver. He's been flying up the board lately. Um, at guard, I mean, this could be a great spot for them to grab Kenyon Green, who's been sliding down the board at this point. Zion Johnson, he's another option where it'd be good bang for the buck. Uh, I mean, at tackle, man, I would hate to do this, but my Chippewa, Bernard Raymond, if they need a tackle, I think he's solid. But I think he's going to slide a little bit because he's coming from a small school. Defensive end and cornerback. So they could go Kyler Gordon. They got Arnold Ibek, Ibekit, out of Penn State, James. I can't even say it tonight. Usually I can at least try to let them roll off my tongue, but it's just not happening here. Um, Man, because they're so invested in Fields and they're shifting away from being this defensive minded team. They traded away Khalil Mack. They let some big name guys go in free agency. I gotta believe they're going offense with this pick. It's just where is it going to be on offense? I don't think it's going to be wide receiver. I don't like the value proposition for these guys at wide receiver. I think for them, I think it's Zion Johnson, the guard out of Boston College. He's a smooth, controlling pass blocker, not the greatest in the run game, but Fields, he's a passer and he's a mobile guy. You want to be able to keep him protected and give him a chance to make plays. I'm going Zion Johnson here.
Thank you for doing that.
You're welcome. It was a tough pick, James. It was a tough pick.
Thank you for doing that. This player for Seattle, let me take a look where it's a little bit of a stretch for him. I think it's a little early for him, but I think you have to go offensive line here. So when you look at the offensive line available, I'm trying to look at our list because I don't remember this other guy being taken, and this other guy could work too.
Oh man, I'd love to go Bernard Raymond, the Central Michigan homie, to Seattle here, but I think it's a bit early for him still. Who are you looking for? Are you looking at a tackle?
Yeah, because I have these two players kind of rated the same here, and I'm just really, I think it's a stretch a little bit, but I have this player I think I have this player just slightly ahead of your homeboy from Central Michigan,
Okay.
just slightly. And wow, that's where he is. Holy crap! I have him rated a little bit higher. I have this guy rated at around like 41, 40, 42. So it's just a little bit of a stretch. And that's Tyler Smith,
Oh yeah, he's been climbing the board lately.
um, which apparently he was 60 going into last week, according to the rankings. He's a big left tackle. He he flashes ability to bury defenders in the run game. Lean, he falls off some blocks sometimes. Good foot speed to develop into an effective block. Blindside pass blocker who can hold his own. He's Maybe he needs to get a little quicker with his punch and maybe a little wider with his. I'm sorry, a little narrower with his hands, but I think he could be a good stalwart under the right tutelage. Good left tackle with longevity in the league.
Yeah, I like the pick, especially because they're picking back to back here, so they can go in a lot of different directions and answer two of their big needs. And so, um, yeah, I saw it. He's got to get better with the hands. He's got some penalty issues, but yeah, this guy, like you mentioned, he was like in the late 50s or 60s last week on the board, and he's like skyrocketing, man. A lot of people are really starting to love this guy going into the draft, and so and they've got a need. Dwayne Brown is gone, and whoever's going to be their quarterback, you got to keep them protected. So good pick there. I like it. That puts me at 41 with the Seahawks, and so they've now taken a quarterback. They are protecting their quarterback, and they have needs at inside linebacker, defensive end, and cornerback. I can't help but think Legion of Boom stuff and Kyler Gordon sliding on the board. I gotta believe they take him here. I think that they've had a need there for a while. They've got two great safeties, and this will help them round out that secondary. I think if he's the pick here, they run up and they turn that card in right away. So I'm going Kyler Gordon, cornerback out of Washington.
Are we sure he wasn't picked already?
I'm pretty sure, but I can go back and take a look. Nope, not
I mean,
picked.
I like that pick, but he just disappeared off my list. So I was like,
Yeah, so I know last week we were talking about him potentially, like when you looked at the board, he lined up like perfect for what Cincinnati needed. But considering that cornerback, the gambling too much comment that cost them in the Super Bowl, it was like, no, they wouldn't take him, no way. And I believe we had them taken, yeah, we had them taking a defensive end instead, um, which is
no,
fine.
no, I know what happened. I would think I was going back and forth on a player, and I just screwed up my list.
Yeah, and I mean, I was tempted to go Christian Harris, the inside linebacker from Alabama here. We know they got a needed inside linebacker now. But, you know, I've been reading that he's been sliding down the board. He's got a lack of power, and I feel like they get more bang for their buck with the Kyler Gordon pick here.
Yeah, I messed something up here on my board because I still have because you took Kenyon Green, right?
No,
With you skipped over Kenyon Green?
no, I took Zion Johnson for the Bears.
Uh,
Yeah, Zion was the between him and Kenyon Green. Kenyon Green's the better run blocker, and Kion Johnson or Zion Johnson is the better pass blocker. And so I think you could go either way with them because they've got David Montgomery at running back. You want him to be able to run well, take pressure off of Justin Fields. I ultimately opted for Zion Johnson. I got him very similarly rated.
all right.
So that puts you at 42 with the Colts, my friend.
Yeah, I know. And I don't like you.
Well, do you want me to run through their needs? Because I think this is their first pick too. They didn't have a first rounder.
Yeah, I know. I was considering Kenyon Green and trying to move him out to tackle.
Well, I mean, they moved Quentin Nelson to tackle for a little while last year, right?
Yeah,
I mean, maybe
sure.
they do something like that. They bring in Kenyon Green and, all right, Quentin Nelson, we need you at tackle, man.
Yeah, I think that might be the way I go with it.
I mean, that'd be perfect for them with Jonathan Taylor. You're getting an outstanding run blocker in Kenyon Green.
Yeah.
I mean, geez, it's just like okay, just ground and pound. And then Matt Ryan, you just need to fill in the pieces.
Yeah, I think sneakily Indianapolis somehow could be in on the Debo Samuel conversation. But yeah, I'm gonna go Kenyon Green. I like that. Like, I mean, you did the analysis for me. I thought he was taken when I was going at it. I looked at it and I was like, oh, I'm gonna go this, and then I'm like, move him or move Quentin Nelson out to left tackle, and you have a ridiculously stout running blocking side of the line, and so yeah, so I'll go with Kenyon Green there. Even though it's technically we don't have him as a need, I think they'll do a little finagling.
Yeah, I could see them shuffling it around. And yeah, I didn't mean to do the analysis for you. I guess I'm just getting a bit excited tonight. I'll tone it down, James. Tone it down. Don't want
Oh
to
no,
steal
no,
your
no.
thunder.
Cool. You're cool.
Okay, so 43 with the Atlanta Falcons. I had them taking a wide receiver in round one. That has them needing a quarterback, defensive end, running back, and offensive tackle. Um, man, I don't really like the defensive ends here. I mean, there's one guy I actually I kind of like Logan Hall. I'm just not sure. I'm not sure that that's what I would do here. A quarterback, man, I really just don't think that this is the way for them to go. I mean, they've got Mariota. Oh man, I don't even know who I have at quarterback on my board as I'm skimming through here. We had a lot go in the first round, man. Holy cow. Yeah,
Yeah, I think if Atlanta goes quarterback, they're gonna go with the top 10 pick at
yeah, it's
quarterback,
not
Malik
here.
Willis or
It's not here.
Kenny Pickett, whichever one happens to fall there. There's no way. I think the next best is Carson Strong, who's a
Yeah.
low end, who's probably rates out to be a low end starter, high end backup. So I don't think that's very smart of a pick.
Um, all right, so I think the safe pick is the defensive end spot, but I'm not going with the safe pick here, James. I'm thinking Arthur Smith. He was a run first offensive guy in Tennessee, and he tried bringing in Mike Davis to be his ground and pound guy. It didn't work. He got really creative with Cordero Patterson. I strongly question the ability of that having success again this year now that defenses are going to be all over it. I think they take who, in my opinion, is the best running back in this class. I know I shouldn't be saying that with Kenneth Walker being our Sparty guy, which you went in round one. I'm giving them running back Brees Hall here out of Iowa State. I actually really like this guy a lot. I think he's got a super high ceiling at the next level. And with Mariota being their guy, this could take some major pressure off of it and have this offense making plays on the ground and helping open things up through the air that way. Plus, he's a natural pass catcher. He needs to develop a little bit as a pass blocker, but I mean, this guy, he's about as close to a workhorse, I think, as you can get in this draft class, man.
Yeah, so his running style is a lot like Le'Veon Bell's, which I like. He's almost more patient than Le'Veon Bell, if you could think that was
Oh, that's
possible.
wild, yeah.
Um, I think his biggest knock is he at times lacks suddenness out of cuts and quickness out of cuts. But I have him in the top 30. I had Walker and I had him in the both 25 to 26 on my board overall. So I like that pick there.
Nice. Yeah, and so they double down on offense. Basically, they're saying, hey, let's try and get this offense ready for when we make our quarterback move. We got some established pieces, and then we can worry about the defense later. And that puts you on the clock at 44 with the Cleveland Browns, man. This is another one. It's their first pick of the night. So many teams without a first round pick. You want me to run through their needs while you're looking?
No, I was just looking at their needs and I'm cross-referencing it with my board and seeing. See, I don't like this pick number with their needs. I think I think this is another area where you could see a trade. I don't need a defensive end. I don't think they need a defensive end.
Yeah, I mean, I know they've been trying to find someone to complement Miles Garrett. There's been
But they
talk
just
about them
signed. They
bringing
just signed.
Clowney back.
No, they just signed. They signed somebody this offseason
Okay.
at defensive end, and I was like super excited about it. Like, who the hell was it? But they did. I swear they signed somebody at defensive end. I don't like these defensive ends here, anyways.
Sure.
Um, who did they sign at defensive end? There's somebody. I remember talking about it. Huh. Maybe they didn't sign somebody at defensive end. I don't think they go defensive end.
Uh, yeah, so they've got needs at defensive tackle, wide receiver, defensive end, center, and outside linebacker. Um, you've got some options at a lot of those positions fairly high up on the board of who's best available. It's just a matter of do you think they make sense here and who gives them the most bang for the buck? And I don't want to do all the analysis for you, so I'm just going to sit back. I'm just kind of filling in some of that quiet time here while you're thinking. Take your time. You still got, 48 seconds on the clock.
All right, so I don't really like any of the defensive ends that are available here. But if I had to pick a defensive end here, because that seems like what's the only thing that's available at this that has any value. And I mean, this is if I'm saying any value, like I'm outside I'm outside of my top 50 here on this guy.
Okay.
I'm into my top 60 on this guy, and he's going to be. Is that accurate? Huh. I have this guy as a defensive tackle, not a defensive end.
Okay.
So that makes me feel a little bit better. Not much better, but
And that's
um,
that's a big need for him.
so he had in 2 seasons, which keep in mind one of the seasons was short, so you're talking about 22 games. He had total games. He had seven sacks, 15 tackles for a loss. He has perfect size to be a defensive end in a 3-4, or he could be defensive tackle in a 4-3, where he's a little bit lean at defensive tackle, which is probably why he's rated out at defensive end. But I have him as a defensive tackle. He gets his hands up. He could be probably rookie year, be the second best, third best defensive lineman. Not second best, third best defensive lineman. He could be the number 2, number 3 defensive lineman on the team, and especially if with
Myles Garrett.
Myles Garrett, that'll help it. And it's going to be Logan Hall from Houston.
Yeah, that was a guy I was putting a lot of looking at while you were thinking there. Yeah, I like his versatility. I like he's disruptive from the interior, which is it's always a bonus. And for them needing defensive tackle and defensive end, he's a guy that could kind of move around depending on what they're doing with that defensive front. The one pick I was tempted to look at there, James, was actually Sky Moore, the wide receiver out of Western. I thought, okay, they got Deshaun Watson now. They brought in Amari Cooper. Would they say, okay, we're going to put one more pick on that offense because that's going to be our bread and butter now? I personally like the defensive pick because I think offensively they've got a lot of weapons, and they still got the 2 great running backs, and so that defense needs to now complement that offense, and so I'm good with it. But that would have been maybe the alternative I would have considered there.
Yeah, that I considered him. We can talk about Sky Moore a little bit more when he
Sure.
goes. I don't want to sell too high on him.
Yeah, and so all right, so Baltimore up next at 45. I believe it was just last year, maybe it was the year before, they drafted a wide receiver out of Western. I'm not going to have them do that again here. I don't think that makes sense for them. But wide receiver is a need for them, as is center, inside linebacker, and defensive tackle. When I'm looking at this list of guys, so, Christian Harris is out there. He's sliding down the board. I'm not sure I like him here. Defensive tackles, you got Fidarian Mathis. Not a bad pick. There's Perry and Winfrey. I kind of like him here. Man. I'm not like seeing a guy screaming in my face, this is who it should be. And they got a safety. I would go between the 2 tackles that are available. You can never go wrong with an Alabama guy, but I prefer Perry and Winfrey out of Oklahoma. He's a disruptive run defender, good power, violent hands. He's maybe a little bit light for his size, maybe a little inconsistent, but I think he's going to have an immediate impact against the running game. And coming out of the gate, that's solid for a rookie. And so, defensive tackle, Perry and Winfrey.
I like it. I especially like the fact that you didn't go with Sky Moore there.
Yeah. Fuck the Broncos.
So
No, I mean, hey, I like the MAC teams, but I don't think that's a good pick for them there.
let's discuss Minnesota and Minnesota's needs.
Okay.
So they have Adam Thielen. They have Justin Jefferson. So they're 1 and 2. They happen to need a slot receiver, in my opinion.
Yep.
There's a player here from Western Michigan that grades out as the perfect starting slot receiver, a perfectly fit starting slot receiver as a rookie. He's a yak. He gets yards after the catch easily. He's lightning quick. Um, he's difficult to bring down in space. He makes defenders miss in small spaces consistently, and that would be Sky Moore.
All right. Let me write it in here. Let me mark him off my board. Um, yeah, and so they have an offensive-minded head coach, new this year, rookie head coach. They went cornerback in round one. I could easily see them going wide receiver here. Um, I would be a little tempted, only a little bit, to consider Trey McBride at tight end because I think he um, is a really good tight end prospect, and they let what's his face from Central go in free agency, and they could use help there. But I think it's a little early for that. I think Sky Moore's a solid pick there, man. Okay, so back to me with the Washington Commanders at 47. And so, James, I believe you made their pick in the first round, got them a quarterback. And so, looking at their needs, offensive tackle, inside linebacker, wide receiver, safety. Um, Jalen Petra, however you say his name, out of Baylor, he could be a good pick here. I do like Bernard Raymond, the offensive tackle from Central, is a good pick here. Um, man, I actually really like both those guys right here. I think they would do really well. Um, if I'm them, what's going to give them the most bang for the buck? You got a rookie quarterback, you probably want to protect him. Even if you don't rush him into action, you want to keep Wentz protected because you got him. You know, as much as I could see Ron Rivera wanting to get a piece for that defense, I think the smartest move for them is to take the tackle. I'm going Bernard Raymond here.
Yeah, I agree. I honestly think that that's where Raymond goes.
Yeah, that'd be a good pick for him. That'd be a good
And
spot.
and I have Raymond at about the 45th overall um, pro prospect in this draft, so that lines up with value also.
Yeah, right on par. And this is a guy. He's a converted tight end. He's got power. He's got a mean streak. He's effective against the run. Still developing, but I mean, there's a lot of guys, man. And I know I'm biased as a former Chippewa, but I'm hearing a lot of people that are excited for this guy. And so, I think that's a solid pick for them at 47. So that puts you at 48 with the Bears, James.
Yeah, I know. I was
Yeah, you don't want to pick for the Bears?
oh, vey. This is going to be a little bit of a weird pick here
Okay.
because I don't think he's necessarily an edge guy. But I see no other value here, and that's I don't like that though. Oh, son of a bitch.
Somebody just fall in your lap?
Yeah, I forgot he was still there. I want to see where I have him. Son of a bitch, is you're gonna make me pronounce this guy's name.
The Penn State dude.
Yeah.
Ibek, Ibek,
Ebetiki.
Ibek, Ibekati,
Ebekitai.
Ibekati.
Ebekiti. So the interesting quote on this player that I saw was he has unusually long arms for his frame.
Okay.
He shows good first step quickness, above average bend around the edge. Um, Only real knock that I could find on him was he lacks the pure strength to win very often with speed to power moves. He kind of stalls out. Um, but I think as a pass rusher, like not necessarily in the run game, but as a pass rusher, I think this is a good slot for him. I almost went with um, an inside linebacker here, which I'm sure you're going to go with next, but I'm going to go with Epic Arnold from Penn State.
Arnold E. Yeah, we'll go with that. Yeah, no, I think that's a good pick. I have a hard time picking for the Bears just because I hate them so much, but I also just don't feel like the board's really sitting right for them at this spot. And so I might have been tempted to go after Christian Watson, just like I was a little bit tempted looking at Sky Moore with that earlier second round pick. But they now went offensive line, defensive line. I think in a team that's in a rebuild, that's really the prudent thing to do is start at the trenches and work your way out. And so I like that pick, man. That's good with me. So yeah, at 49 with the Saints. So they have now taken a wide receiver, a quarterback, and now they have needs at inside linebacker, defensive tackle, offensive tackle, and cornerback. Um, and I don't know. I'm guessing you were thinking maybe I'd go Christian Harris here, but I think he's sliding down the board. I'm not a big fan of chasing guys as they're falling down the board. Um, Same with Leo Chenal, the next linebacker I got on my list. He's been sliding down the board too. You got Fedarian Mathis at defensive tackle. That would fit a need. I kind of like that pick. You got Roger McCreary at cornerback. He's really a slot guy, is what people are projecting at the NFL level, but the Saints historically have liked being stacked at cornerback. I could see that being a good fit. You got Abraham Lucas at offensive tackle. That would fit a need. Man, who would I go with here? You still got Cam Jordan on that defensive line. Um, would I go defensive line or would I go cornerback? Oh, James. Between these two guys, I got them like really neck and neck here. They've got Dennis Allen, defensive-minded guy at head coach. Could be a one-year thing. Who knows what's going on with Sean Payton? Maybe he's keeping his seat warm. I'm going to take the defensive tackle, Fedarian Mathis out of Alabama. It's one of their top needs, and I think anytime you can strengthen the line, it's a good way to go. He's got long arms, locates and attacks the ball quickly. You thought it was going to be the linebacker?
Yeah, that's where I thought you were going to go with it.
Well, that's why we're rotating. A little zigzag action. And so that puts you at 50 with the Chiefs, James. Unless you had a comment on that.
No, I don't have a comment on that. I like it. All right, Chiefs need a wide receiver. Specifically, they need a wide receiver that can track the ball down on deep threats and kind of be that home run hitter that Tyreek Hill was. They need an elusive wide receiver. Maybe not necessarily need the ankle breaker that Tyreek Hill was, but they need to come out of this draft with a wide receiver.
So didn't we have them taking Treylon Burks in round one?
I forgot about the second round one pick.
So I guess let me remind you of that before you put in the card. But you could double down at wideout. I could see them doing that.
Let me see. I missed the second first round pick when I looked at it.
We'll just put one in the assist column for me tonight. I'm helping a brother out.
So then, I should have fucking put positions next to these guys' names on my list.
Yeah, so while you're working that out, I'm showing them with needs at defensive end, safety, and offensive guard. And how much are they going to go on the offensive line? They put a lot into it last year, so I'm not sure that they're itching to really put more into it right now, at least not without addressing other needs. But, if that's where they get the most bang for the buck, that's where it is.
All right, so I'm gonna go with Petrie. He's interchangeable. He can line up over the slot in the box. He can play deep, quick feet, good instincts, outstanding closing burst and coverage. He can jump routes and pluck the ball away. He's a good open field tackler who slips blocks, and that's who I think the Chiefs are gonna go with. I was gonna go with somebody else who's a little bit further down on the board, but I will address that later.
Okay. No, and I like that pick. I was actually looking at, I thought you could have gone him or even Lewis Seen from Georgia, the safety. I've got them pretty closely rated, and I think they could both have a pretty immediate impact at the NFL level and would fit a need there. So I like that, and I think the Chiefs have had problems in that secondary for a long time. So we had them taking a cornerback in the first round. Now they're taking a safety. I think that really helps them in that defensive backfield, which is obviously huge in their division. And so I'm good there. And then really, you know, there's not a stud defensive end left, and that would have been the other way I would have gone. I'm just not seeing it here, so I like it. I think that was cool. All right, so that puts me at 51 with the Philadelphia Eagles, and so James in the first round we had the Eagles taking a cornerback, Derek Stingley Jr., and we had them taking Jordan Davis at defensive tackle, which we kind of were saying maybe fits some of that defensive end need because it's more about strengthening that defensive line, and he'd give them an immediate boost there. So that has needs left at wide receiver, safety, and inside linebacker. I'm a little bit hesitant on what's going on with Christian Harris and Leo Chenal at inside linebacker. Um, I go Lewis Seen here, no problem. I think he's going to come in and be solid. And you just took Petra, however you say his name. So I like Lewis Seen here, the safety out of Georgia.
All right, Pittsburgh Steelers. We had them going with a quarterback in the first round. Is that who we did?
I'll tell you
Oh,
momentarily. Offensive lineman
yeah.
Trevor Penning. They're focusing on the running game this year, James.
I don't think so. So what they need to complement Mr. Trubisky, let me find him on my board, is they need a possession receiver.
Okay.
And I have this guy as an quote outstanding possession receiver with good combination of speed, suddenness, and polish as a route runner. He is coming back from a knee injury, a non-contact left knee injury. I don't think it was. I don't know the extent of that, and I don't know how the medical grade's out on him. So I'm gonna put that caveat there.
Sure.
I have him in the top 50. Our list has him outside the top 60, and that would be John Mechie III from Alabama.
Yeah, I guess my note is that he's a smaller target, but you're showing him as a possession guy.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, either way, they do need a wide receiver. That is their top need left. I might have been tempted to go Roger McCreary here at cornerback because I like him at this spot on the board. I think he offers a lot of value for a team. And I think cornerback was an area of concern for them last year after they let Mike Hilton go to Cincinnati in free agency the year before, and they lost some other guys. But no, I can't argue with that. You got to have weapons for whoever's going to come in and be your quarterback. If it's Trubisky, which is what it looks like, or whoever. So I think that makes sense. There's some sound logic there. And I do like Mechie. I mean, the note I have on him is smooth, polished route runner, plucks the ball really well. I think that's a good way to go. I like it. Okay, so next up we've got the Green Bay Packers, blah blah, at 53, and they took a wide receiver and an inside linebacker in round one. So they've got defensive end, offensive tackle, and cornerback as their needs. I mean, honestly, I'd be really tempted now. Christian Harris is sliding. It's like, whew, man. But they already filled that spot, and they brought back Devondre Campbell. So
It's Green Bay. Come on, they're gonna draft Carson Strong, quarterback from wherever the hell he's from. Come on, it's Green Bay. They're gonna fuck this up.
They might fuck it up, James. They might fuck it up. But we're making the pick for them, and so it defensive end, offensive tackle, and cornerback. Man. So you got Abraham Lucas at offensive tackle, big, quick, and smooth, shorter arms. I don't think that's the end of the world. Daniel Fillell out of Minnesota, he's fallen down the board. I wouldn't. I don't think I would take him here. Defensive end, you got DeMarvin Leal. That's not a bad pick here. They did let a cornerback go in free agency, and so I don't know, man. I would like to see this guy go somewhere else, but I think Roger McCreary out of Auburn is a good value pick here. He's a sticky cornerback, quick feet, impressive body control. He's played outside in college. He's kind of projected to go in the slot in the NFL. I think he'd be a good pick for the Packers here.
Wow, this guy's gonna fall to New England, motherfuckers.
That's how it works, man. Belichick's patient, and the guys fall to him, dude. I mean, everybody should be taking a lesson from his playbook.
Where do I have this guy? Let me see.
Oh, is this the Alabama linebacker time?
Yeah, I think it is.
This would be a steal for Belichick, man. He would love this pick.
All right, why am I not finding him on my list?
He's, so he's high on my top prospects. He's 37. At least he was last week. I'd have to check where ESPN had him, but he had fallen a decent amount since last week.
I have him at 34.
Okay.
Wow. Motherfucking Bill Belichick does it again and gets that Alabama guy that fits one of his needs perfectly. And over 3 seasons, in 40 starts, he had 221 tackles, 10 sacks, outstanding straight line speed. He ran a 4.44 40. Second best among the linebackers at the combine. He's a good coverage linebacker, good instincts, quick feet, high top end speed.
Yeah, the only knock I have on him is that they're saying he lacks the power that he might need at the next level. But good range against the run. It just it's like how spooked are you going to get about him sliding down the board? And at what point do you say, I ain't afraid of no ghost. I'm going to take him. I got a need there. Belichick likes his SEC guys. I think that's, like you said, that's a steal of a pick for him. I think he'd be thrilled.
So the consensus I had on him was him grading out as a starting middle or weak side linebacker in the NFL with the instinct, speed, and motor to be an every down difference maker.
Okay. Yeah,
This
and
is
when
the
was that
fucking.
evaluation?
That's just what I've accumulated over the last 2 months.
Yeah, and this is where it gets weird. Like you talk about all the smoke and mirrors and misinformation of what's happened this past week. I mean, this dude could be a frickin' steal, and people are getting spooked for nothing.
Well, I think it's Belichick putting that misinformation out there so he can fucking snipe him at number 54. But
Uh,
all right. So unless you had something else on him, you have the Arizona Cardinals on
all
the
right,
clock.
yep, you turned in your cards. We got the Cardinals at 55. We had them taking a cornerback in round one, so they've got needs at defensive end, defensive tackle, and wide receiver. Um, yeah, man. So I've got Christian Watson is now my top guy on the board. He's been flying up the board at wide receiver. I'm not totally sold on him, James, but I'm just pointing that out for a second while I look at my other guys. Abraham Lucas at offensive tackle. If they really do need a tackle, he could help them out there. Kyler's pretty mobile, so I would bet they're going to deprioritize that. They did get, was it Rodney Hudson or whatever, a year or so ago, and so I don't know how itching they are to fill that need. To Marvin Neal at defensive end. They lost Chandler Jones. Man, I'm showing Josh Pascal out of Kentucky is climbing the board. Um, I might have it between him and Christian Watson. I think my gut is leaning towards Watson because Nuke, when he gets hurt, this team struggles. And so they need another wide receiver. They're bringing back AJ Green on a short term deal. They lost Christian Kirk in free agency. Rondale Moore's working his way up, but we don't know if he's there yet. No, I can't. I can't do that. I think that this is maybe a little bit of a surprise pick, but defensive end Josh Pascal out of Kentucky, I think he's climbing the board fast. He's got a lot of potential. Um, I like it. Low center of gravity, locates, pursues the ball well. He's a disruptor from the interior, and he was a three-time team captain. I think that's a great player to add to your defensive line.
All right, and running their card in as soon as you put that in is Dallas Cowboys with Trey McBride. tight end from Colorado State. He led FBS tight ends with 90 receptions in 2021. He's versatile. He can line up basically anywhere. He's strong after the catch. He's good at leveraging his routes. He's quick for his size, and I mean, he sometimes his pads rise and he's when he's blocking, but that's not a big deal. He has outstanding ball skills and excels at contested catches.
Yeah, I like that pick a lot, man. I think that fills a need for them. And man, I mean, I'm just looking at my board. The guy. I mean, yeah, would you go wide receiver because you lost Amari Cooper? I don't know. I think if you get the tight end, you can run your two tight end sets. And I'm not thrilled with some of these other guys. They need a defensive tackle. I'm not sure I'm seeing the right bang for the buck there. Yeah, I can't knock that pick, man. I'm good with that. All right, so that puts me at 57 with the Buffalo Bills. And James, oh yeah, we had you mocked them Kenneth Walker in the first round. I like that. That was a bit of a surprising pick. But so they need help at defensive tackle, offensive guard, cornerback, defensive end, and offensive tackle. As much as I would love to get him a guard here, I'm not seeing it. But you could potentially convert one of these guards. Abraham Lucas out of Washington State, big, quick, and smooth. Really, his only knock is that he's got shorter arms, which he could be a prime candidate to move into the guard position and from tackle. You got Dylan Parham at guard. He's falling fast. You got Daniel Fillell. He's fallen fast, although he's a massive right tackle prospect, man. What I read about him got me excited, but he's fallen down the board hard. I don't think they're getting the defensive tackle here. I don't think they're getting the cornerback here. I think it's got to be an offensive lineman here. That's really the only. Well, here's an interesting one. Is Nick Bonito, the outside linebacker from Oklahoma. So he's a linebacker, but he's really an edge guy. He's just, the notice he's got the tools to develop into a full-time starter. I think you get a guy like that here that's solid. It builds the defense. Man, I don't know. I don't know if I like that, James. And the clock is ticking on me, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Tick tock, tick tock. I'm doing Abraham Lucas at tackle. Let him beef up that offensive line. I just think it's the best value at this spot. I'm not thrilled with it, but that's where I'm going.
So I could see that.
Who'd you like there?
Oh, I like both guys. Both Benito and Lucas there. So like I could have gone either. You could go either way on them.
Okay.
Really, like I have both overall rated almost identical. So all right.
Falcons at 58, homie.
You are gonna think I am crazy for this pick.
All right.
You are gonna think I am absolutely a lunatic for this pick.
Okay, well, at least you're admitting it up front.
I am going to go. Let me make sure before I do this. I don't think we have them taking this position yet. I see Brees Hall that's running back. And who did we have them taking the first round? Garrett Wilson, who, yeah, that's. I think. This is lunacy. This is absolute lunacy.
Okay.
But this happens all the time. I'm just debating which one is it.
Well, take your time. Take your time.
I'm gonna go with quarterback Bailey Zappe from Western Kentucky. He moves well within the pocket. You get him in rhythm. He can be in short. He's super accurate, short to intermediate passer. Um, he's when he can't necessarily drive the ball down the field vertically, but and when he's throwing on the move, he's a little inconsistent. But uh,
You like what you're reading, though, or you like what you're seeing?
well, see, it's between him and Skylar Thompson, and I'm trying to determine if Atlanta wants a quarterback that could be a running threat or a quarterback that could be just has the mobility in the pocket. Because outside of that, I think they're about identical. I think they want more mobility in the pocket, less of a running threat. So they're going to go with Bailey Zappi.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's a shock pick for me. I had Carson Strong as my next guy at quarterback. But anything can happen, man. Anything can happen, especially as you get later in the second round. All right, yeah, and I don't know. I don't know how else to critique that. What else I would have done there? I don't like the way that the board has fallen for them at that spot. So that's good. All right, so Green Bay at 59. At this point, they have needs at defensive end and offensive tackle. I mean, Nick Benito could be good for them here. I'm just not sure how he fits in on that defense because they're changing things there. Or DeMarvin Leal at defensive end. Man, we gave him a wide receiver in the first round, or I did rather. Christian Watson's tempting here, but I'm not going to do it despite wanting to. Um, I'm going Nick Benito here, outside linebacker, Oklahoma.
I could see it.
It's just at this point, it's a best available. May not be a perfect fit for them, but it seems like that's where they're going to get the most out of their pick here. All right, so that puts you at 60 with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah, I know.
This
I
this
know.
actually looks like a fairly tricky pick, man.
Yeah, it is.
Wow. Yeah, no, I'm not digging this spot for them.
All right. So I'm gonna go with Greg Dul- Dul- Dulcich, tight end from UCLA. He he has enough speed to make plays downfield and burst to pick up yardage after the catch. Um, he had 19.9 yards per catch, second best in FBS for tight ends in 2020, and 17.3 per catch last year, which was also, yeah, last year 17.3, which was also second best in FBS. He has long arms. He doesn't necessarily catch everything that's thrown his way, but he's, I think that's, I think he's going to be the new Gronk.
Okay. Yeah, that's definitely a need for them. And I mean, man, they still have uh frick, I'm drawing a blank on that one tight end's name, but yeah, they need another guy there. They like having two of them. Yeah, Godwin could be coming back slow from his injury, and so pass catchers are a plus. It's tough, man. I was tempted to look at Daniel Philel here at offensive tackle. Maybe help them beef up that offensive line, but I'm not sure. He's fallen down the board. I also liked outside linebacker Drake Jackson out of USC here. I kind of thought, okay, maybe that could be an okay pick for them, or even DeMarvin Leal, but I think we already got them an end, so it'd be kind of like doubling down there. But I still feel like they could get some of their defensive linemen back on deals, free agent deals. So I'm good with that pick, man. All right, so that puts me at 61 with the San Francisco 49ers, and this is their first pick.
Yeah, that's what I was going to
Holy
ask you.
cow, man! Wow, yeah, no, because they basically traded the farm for Trey Lance, and so yeah, so unless they move Garoppolo by tomorrow or Friday, this will be their first pick. And so they've got needs at cornerback, offensive guard, defensive tackle, safety, and center. Um, Man, this is a guy that I think is going to be a steal. I'm not sure where he fits, to be honest, on the defense, but they'll find a spot for him. And they have a need in the secondary, and it's safety Jaquan Brisker out of Penn State. This guy's played safety, linebacker. He's played slot cornerback. He's a jack of all trades. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Jabril Peppers. Super athletic. You can kind of put him anywhere. Um, but I mean, what is that phrase? Jack of all trades, ace of nothing, or whatever. I don't know how that goes. It's like maybe that could be him, but I think when I'm looking at the people on the board here, that's an intriguing pick for me with a lot of upside. I'm plugging him in.
I actually like that pick. That's position wise, it's difficult there for what's lining up, what they need. So you can't argue it.
And he's still pretty highly rated at that spot. So they're getting value if they can figure out where he belongs or if they move him around and they get it to be an effective rotation. All right, so that gets you at 62 with the Kansas City Chiefs. Man,
Natural knee
they've been
bender
making,
who
what
is
is this, their fourth
smooth.
pick?
Yeah, smooth getting set, anchors well, and mirrors decently in pass pro. Offensive guard Dylan Parham.
All right.
He also has played right tackle and both guard spots in college.
Yeah, man, it makes me wonder why he's dropping on the board, but I got to note he's a natural knee bender with a good first step quickness. Gets stood up at times, but it would fill a need. Without Tyreek Hill, you got to protect Patrick Mahomes. He's going to need a little more time making these reads, and so Yeah, I'm not really sure. Maybe I'd be tempted to go to Marvin Leal here at defensive end. I think you're fine there. I think that's a good choice. Let me mark him off. Dylan Parham. Okay. And so that takes me to 63 with the Cincinnati Bengals. Cornerback, defensive tackle, tight end, offensive tackle. Um, we got them a defensive end in the first round. Hmm, let's see. Who do I like here? Oh, man. I think the defensive tackle group fell off a cliff, so I'm not really digging that. Um, we already got them a defensive end, so I'm not going to go there. Cornerback at this stage of the game, there's still two guys that are I guess up there enough. Um, I don't know. I don't think they want to take the right guy, take that guy. Defensive end, man. So, holy cow, this one's really tripping me up, man. Um, I guess let's just roll the dice here. Let's just roll the dice. I'm gonna give them cornerback Tariq Woolen out of UTSA. He's a press zone cornerback, rare size, speed, and length. The only downside is he's still learning the position, and so they got to be patient with him. But the guy's got the intangibles, and that's their top need. So I don't know. I think there's maybe some guys that they might want to take that are rated higher on the board. I just don't see where they fit with other guys on their roster.
I like that pick. I like Woolen. Like, yeah, he's raw, but I think he could amount to a good cornerback in the league. I also like the fact that you didn't go offensive tackle there.
I was tempted, man. I was tempted to go with Daniel Philell, thinking, hey, add him to the mix. More the merrier. But they did a
So
lot.
so I'm looking at the list, and is 64 Denver's first pick?
Denver, yeah. Um, yeah, they didn't have a first round pick because of the Russell Wilson deal. Yeah, this is their first pick, man. Holy cow.
So they just traded for Russell Wilson. This player, and we've also mentioned earlier when we were talking about Melvin Gordon signing that they're probably going more towards passing. Well, first of all, he has enough quickness to establish his position and overwhelm defenders in the run game. Um, in the pass game, what's said about him is he rarely gives ground, and his size makes it challenging to get around him in pass protection. And that's Daniel Philell, offensive tackle from Minnesota. I think this is about perfect for him to go too.
Yeah, I think that's a good spot, and I think it's good for the team. We saw for so many years Russell Wilson operating behind a leaky offensive line, and even if this guy needs some development, yeah, I mean, geez, I mean, I get excited when I see things like massive right tackle prospect. It's like, yeah, like I want to work with somebody like that on the offensive line. It seems like more times than not, those kind of guys figure it out and they become at least respectable starters at the next level. And so I'm good with that. And he's good in the run game already. And so that's going to help Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon. So he's got some good attributes while he figures out the rest of his game. Yeah, nah, I don't know. Like, I mean, what's an alternative? You got Nick Cross out of Maryland at safety. I don't see it. I don't see it. Um, they need a linebacker. I mean, Leo Chenal could fall to him here and not be a bad pick, but uh, it's cool. Um, yeah, I mean, with Denver, I think that's a good pick. I could see them going Nick Cross at safety as an alternative, or even letting inside linebacker Leo Chenal from Wisconsin fall into their lap. But I'm a big fan of protecting Russell Wilson. It seems like that division's going to be all about offense. Cool.
Cool.
Okay, so that's our round 2 mock draft. Let's move it over here to our question of the week, James. And so it's got to be a draft question. It's got to be a Lions question. And with all these millions of mock drafts coming out, I heard a guy the other day basically suggest the Lions packaging 32 and 34 to move up into the top 15. And when you look at the draft pick value chart, hypothetically, they could get as high as 13, which is Houston. And Houston's got a lot of needs. And so if a team was going to make that trade, I could see Houston being that team because they're just adding picks at that point. And it kind of goes back to that whole, well, hey, if there's 40 good players in this draft class, you want to get as many of them as you can. And so this gives them an option to add one more of those guys. And so um, the question is, should they package those picks to move up? And if they did and it was successful, who would it be for and why? The way that we mocked things out, when I thought about this, I thought, holy cow, I'd love to see him do it and grab Jamison Williams and have him be their wide receiver one of the future. We already had him gone by that point, and so he's not there. And then a guy on the radio I heard talking about it, he was saying, holy cow, if Thibodeau fell, you get him there and you double down with Hutchinson and Thibodeau. Um, Thibodeau is the number 13 pick in our mock. Houston took him. It would be exciting as all heck to have 2 solid defensive ends lighting up quarterbacks. But for me, as a team in rebuild mode, I feel like you need to take more shots because you have so many holes to fill. And so I'd be really hesitant to make that trade. If Thibodeau slid, I'd be tempted. I'm just telling you. If it's not him and it's not Jamison Williams, I'm thinking you don't do it. You just stand pat and you make your picks. And maybe even you wait and see if somebody offers you a sweet trade at 32 because they want to get in on that 5th-year option. And so that's just kind of my thoughts on it. I think you've got maybe an interesting alternative to this or a different opinion, man. What are you thinking?
So because you had sent it to me earlier today, gave me a little heads up this week, and I thought my instant thought was, yeah, maybe that makes sense. Yeah, that'd be really cool. And then I started thinking about it, and I was like, so if you look at the value that Green Bay, or the draft pick value that Green Bay got for Devontae Adams, and the draft pick value, approximate draft pick value that Kansas City got for Tyreek Hill, you're looking at number 13.
Okay.
And so I looked at our value chart, and like you said, those 2 picks happened to wind up at about the value for 13. And everything I'm reading is saying that the value the 49ers will get for Deebo Samuel is somewhere around 13. If you were going to trade number 32 and number 34, it's going to San Francisco for Deebo Samuel. Otherwise, you are not going to trade that pick, and you're going to pick Desmond Ridder. I don't think anybody you could pick above 32 would be worth it.
And San Francisco doesn't pick until 61.
Yeah.
And so I got to believe it would be tempting for them to be able to get in at 32 and 34. You're getting at 32, you're getting a fifth year option on a guy. And at 34, you're still getting a solid guy. Man, you know, it'd be interesting. And then the Lions, they get their wide receiver one. Hopefully he can fit that mold and that he's not just one of these gadget guys. I think there's the talent there. It's just that there's question marks there too. And so that's my pause with trading those picks. Wow. And then what would San Fran do at 32 and 34? I'm just curious. Cornerback, offensive guard, defense tackle.
Jackson Hill, Quay Walker.
Yeah, Daxton Hill would be one. Yep. Yeah. They could do a lot of things. Kenyon Green, get your run blocker to replace Blake and Tomlinson.
Linderbaum.
Yeah. That's interesting. They'd be thin at wide receiver. They'd need Brandon Ayuk to step up in a big way, which he could. He's shown some flashes, but then they'd have to find some guys other than that. So,
well, the key is Deebo Samuel is not going to play for them this year anyway. So they're going to be thin at wide receiver as it is. So it doesn't. That's not necessarily that relevant.
All right. So do you think that the Lions should be pushing for this trade then, or are you just pointing out that it kind of makes sense?
I'm just pointing out that it makes sense, and if you trade those picks, that's where I would go. You would need to get some sort of assurances from Deebo that he'd be willing to sign a longer term contract with you and stuff like that. If you're giving up that value for him, but I'm hearing the Lions are in on it, and that's about the value that San Francisco is looking to get for him, or will end up getting for him.
Man. Yeah. So basically, it's Deebo, or we're getting a combination of Desmond Ridder and Daxton Hill, is how we've mocked it out.
Mm-hmm.
See, I'm not a big fan of getting a quarterback now. And so I would probably make that trade because I'm thinking get the quarterback next year. But yeah, I would probably do it. Just kind of thinking it out. And as I'm looking at the board here, the alternative is, okay, let's say you trade up to 13. Maybe Jamison Williams slides, maybe Thibodeau slides. I don't know. You could go after Jordan Davis and just have a force of a defensive line with Davis and Hutchinson. But then you're filling 2 spots, not 3. So the question is, do you think Deebo's elite? Because that's what you're trying to get, is an elite guy. You're going to pay big bucks for him.
I'm not saying Deebo's elite. I'm saying that the picks they would get would not match what I think Deebo is.
Yeah.
And that's where I was going. I would much rather them keep the 32nd and 34th pick and go Ridder and Daxton Hill like we mocked it, and I go from there. Or even flip. You need Ridder in the first round because you need that 5th year option for the quarterback.
Yeah, if you're going to get the quarterback, that makes sense to keep it and get that 5th year option. Man, I would be tempted to do the Jordan Davis trade up if you could get up and get him, and then you just have like a beast of a defensive line. But that's like pipe dream stuff. That's just me. Well, that's interesting. I mean, the clock's ticking. If it's going to happen, we'll find out within the next 24.
Yeah. most
All right,
definitely.
cool. Well, so that was the question of the week. For anybody who's still watching, we hope you like the show. Hit us up, play Name That Stadium, answer our question of the week, or just shoot us any kind of comments. Tell us we suck, or you love us, or you hate us, or whatever. We don't care. We just want to interact. But James, I had fun. Next week we'll do our, um, I guess we got to figure out if we want to do the full draft recap. That's probably a lot to bite off. Maybe we just do a first round recap next Friday, and then we can kind of take it from there.
Sounds good.
All right, man. It was good. I'll catch you later, homie.
All right, have a good one.
Gridiron Grinder. Hut hut hike.